is Friday. RawMikeRichards.com. Yeah. Broadcasting live from the DKI studios in downtown Toronto. Coming up today, we got a lot of stuff, including a sunny day video. And it will be one of the shittiest ones you've seen all week. I'm serious. You can't try less than this band coming up. It's still a summertime song. Adlai Stevenson from the NBL Canada. So that's where you've teams in Kitchener-Waterloo. You've got Moncton, Halifax. London are the dominant champions in that league, and there's a lot of really high-level ball being played. If you're not familiar with it, we'll talk to the Deputy Commissioner, Adlai Stevenson, not Adlai Stevenson. That's a different guy. And he's dead. Also, more talk as Johnny Manziel continues to draw the attention of those south of the border, this time from ESPN's NFL Live. Not kidding. Also, for those that always argue about, men and women when they play tennis, maybe women should make the same amount of money as men. Have you seen what it's like in mixed doubles? Do you see what even the Roger Federers, what they do to women when they serve? It's mean, and we're going to play it. Also, a slam dunk competition in Moscow. And Russell's favorite political show. As you know, there's a huge race here in Ontario. Rob Ford and Orville Redenbacher and the other chick.
That's right.
But as it gets down to it, we're going to see what Russell said is his favorite political show. Which I
interesting.
Thought was, I didn't
think he was a political guy.
I didn't either. But it looks like a really one. The shows that he picks, they're always really pretty good. So we're going to do that.
True.
Also, Mike Trout and the rest of the Angels, they really are enjoying Toronto.
And they leave. Now they move on.
They're like, but thanks, guys. That was awesome. You guys are great. Can we let's do this again sometime soon? Yeah, they wouldn't mind that as they just go out and they pound them in the beautiful sunshine yesterday, Dave. So there's something else I wanted to get to today too. We're gonna need to find a comment of Doug Flutie on Global News in Calgary. So Doug was there for one of those big nights.
Yep.
I think it was this time the Jewish Community Center. I think he, just like the Italians have a big sports night. Doug is the main speaker. And, of course, in Calgary, he's a god. Like, he's just a god. But, of course, Kevin Smith, I don't know if you know Kevin. Kevin, a good friend of mine out in Calgary, got a chance to talk to Doug Flutie, and he mentions what he kind of felt his perspective was on Johnny Manziel and his abilities, I would say, and where he thinks it might go in terms of football. But there is no shortage of talk when it comes to the interest of Johnny Manziel at camp in Hamilton. Actually, right now it's at McMaster. And never did I think I would see NFL Live, click it on, and there's a guy covering the camp and talking about the CFL. So that, to me, we'll cover that. But there is just a lot of interesting stuff we'll get to. But as I mentioned, it's a sunny day. It's a Friday. It's a crazy weekend. So we've been doing summertime songs. This one actually is very apropos and one of the worst videos that you'll ever see. It's by a band called Y&T. Summertime Girls. A lot of screams. Yeah. Y&T Summertime Girls, a classic and a one-hit wonder on RawMikeRichards.com. Terrible. Just wanna watch the girls go by. It's like poetry in motion. Oh yeah, Russell. Against the hot summer sky. I'm in love, yeah. Every minute or two. Until the next little girl walks by. Yeah. Oh, and a mermaid. That's hilarious. That's so funny. The guys wearing shorts like the girls used to in Hooters. That is a strong. Oh, and here come the tough girls. Yeah, this is a very sophisticated video. The longest shot has been on the girl lying. And what are they not going to play in this video? I don't remember. Russell. Okay, I think we've seen enough of
A lot of these videos look the same, don't they?
But I used to love that as a rock guy.
Sure.
Like, what one was that? Who cares? Who cares? It's girls, there's suntan lotion, there's a lot of hair, there's sunglasses and beers. Remember that? Remember when music was happy? Remember when guys were in bands and they used to really enjoy it and they loved their life and everything was fun? Not like the fucking, oh, we're sad and I got black fingernails and my mom was mean to me and the videos, I don't know what to do. When did that happen? Why is everyone sad? Remember there's a band called Fun? I got news for you. Not fun.
Not fun at all.
Not fun. Not fun. It was like, have you seen the Black Keys? Yeah, and not fun. Why is everyone crying? Why the moaning? This was. Hey, let's have some beers. Let's go to the beach and wear orange shorts. Where did those days go? That's what I asked you, Dave. Looking at quickly before we get to Adlai Stevenson, really looking forward to this. He's a really interesting guy, and the league, the NBL Canada, we're going to talk about. But get to some of the basketball first. The Rockets and Golden State. Actually a good game, an actual good game, and these two go on head to head, throwing some bombs. I guess the biggest bomb to come out of there is CP3 may not be available. He hurts himself, which is massive. So we'll as details come across, you're not going to find a whole bunch of right now, but that is a massive loss if that's what happens. But you found a Rockets team that found a way to win at home. This was an outstanding game, property of the National Basketball Association and their broadband properties.
To give. There's Green with a hard drive to the rim, but cannot hit on the follow. It's put in. It's Harden. Putting between his legs, putting another move on Curry, whipping it out. Gordon for three. 4 for 14. Houston leads by 4. And again, the free throw line. Now here it is, Curry for 3.
You know what, in reality, Dave, this is the NBA final, don't you think?
Yep.
Yeah, this is the final here. These are the two best teams.
He knocks this down. 4-point lead for Houston. Thompson out of the backcourt just swings it, and that will do it. Houston has taken a 3-game to 2 lead on Golden State.
So once again, looking at CP3, we'll find out exactly the extent of that injury, but it goes back and it will be now a Game 6. But what I've enjoyed about it is this is what it's supposed to look like, Dave.
It's supposed to look like that, but do you really think the Rockets are going to close?
I don't know if they close, but I don't think it's one of those crazy 30, 40-point games.
Warriors, 10.5-point favorites in Game 6.
Okay, well then, you know what? In this case, I'm taking the plus 10.5.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Because I think the Warriors will win by 25 points on Game 6.
Dave, the reason you're being so better today is because there is a young gentleman in the studio.
I wanted to like him.
Yes, yeah.
I wanted to like him.
And he's worn a Golden Knights Marc-Andre Fleury T-shirt, and now Dave is like, I don't care. Sunny day? It's not that sunny. I've seen sunnier. Dave, what's wrong? Why are you so mad?
It's so true.
It's Ryan, correct?
Devin. Close though. Really, Ryan, Devin, they sound the same.
That's the names that people go. Mike, it's Ryan with the silent K. Okay, I'm sick of that stuff. Okay, I'm sick of that shit.
You get a lot of that garbage.
All these people going,
too.
My name is Ian. Oh, it's I-A. No. E-E silent H-A-I-N umlaut. Yeah. You know, like, I mean, what happened to Jack? Jack, Dave's, Mike's. Russell's a little weird. I got to admit, Russell comes out of nowhere a little bit.
That's why you call him Rusty the Bear.
Yeah, why are you named Russell? Do you know where that comes from?
Is that you named after somebody?
Named after my great-grandfather on my dad's side, and also my grandfather's middle name.
Yeah, so it's an older sounding name.
But it was hard to find those pens with my name on it as a kid. Yeah,
yeah, they're like
that was a little tough.
Dude, how old are you? 5? We don't have any Russells. Why don't you just ask for Eunice? So was it Russ in school? It was Russ in school. Or you always been a Russell?
It wasn't really Russ until about like grade 11 or 12.
When was it Rusty? Did anybody Rusty?
I think here only.
A couple hockey coaches when I was younger.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
But that's about it. But Russ was like grade 11 and 12, but before it, and now continued.
Okay, when was Rusty Bear?
Here.
About whenever you started saying that.
Oh man,
That was here.
For sure was
we talked.
So common.
We talked about fun. Well, as I said, the the Los Angeles Angels of, what do they call it now?
Yeah, Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
Yeah, that just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
Does.
So just
put it on a nice little card and everything.
Angels then, whatever the name is, boy, do they like playing in Toronto. And yesterday in the sunshine, Mike Trout, actually, I'm surprised the ball didn't carry further, like the way the swing he gets off of this. But what I love is this is on Facebook Live. I don't know who the announcers are. I don't know if they're, they can't be local.
No, it's probably not local. They may not have even been at the game, to tell you the honest truth.
They're calling off the screen?
It's calling off a screen, exactly. You provide the cameras, the sound, and where are you calling from? We're in New York City.
I guess that, in trying to reach those that are going to watch it on their phones or, the mobile aspect of watching a game. So that's what it was available on. So the announcers, I don't know who they are. But it's kind of funny. I don't think they're that seasoned because generally when a guy hits a home run, you don't go, oh, man! Or whatever the guy says.
Like he's never seen it before.
Yeah. And then when there's a couple of expressions that are kind of odd. Either way, it still ends up being a whitewash. 8-1, the final.
It was.
So fun for the Angels. Property of Major League Baseball and their broadband properties. And I assume, as well, Facebook Live.
Oh, wow.
And that is clobbered by Trout.
Oh, man.
But it's high. Does it have enough distance?
Yeah.
And it's gone.
Oh, he tried.
Very nice.
Very
Off the
nice.
front of the rim and out.
Yep,
Mike Trout goes long for the 15th time this season, and the Angels grab a 4-0 lead.
Yeah, well, so there it was.
That's exciting.
Oh, man. Yeah, so.
Any truth to the rumor that later on in the game when there was another home run, the color guy howled?
Yeah. Holy shit. Actually, you know what? I'd like that. If you could have full profanity sports announcing, that would be. Or those, too. Not only that, but those who have gambled on the game.
That would be rough. Yeah, I know.
You know what it would sound like if you and I were doing a football game where it started going south? Sound like Scarface. That would be bad. What is good is the attention that Johnny Manziel is getting for the Canadian Football League as a whole. Now, obviously, it's the Hamilton Tiger Cats. But if I'm watching ESPN and NFL Live, can you think of a time where they'd be going live to their person up to Canada, number one? So even a game, Dave, let alone a preseason game.
No.
How about a camp?
No.
Camp. So once again, courtesy of ESPN, they continue to cover Johnny Manziel. And now, to be honest, the way that they're doing it, it seems to get a little smoother, a little better. And what I think is interesting, in the first comments that we saw about this, the only thing they talked about was Warren Moon and Doug Flutie. Well, they are starting to do some research and more CFLs being seen in terms of its depth. And I think it's impressive. Once again, property of ESPN.
That, as I mentioned, is covering Manziel. Mike, how committed do you believe Johnny Manziel to be to the CFL?
When I spoke to Manziel, he said that he's not quite calling this his last chance at playing professional football, but he does understand the gravity of the situation for him, and those around here have been impressed with him. He took a red-eye flight over the weekend from Los Angeles, went to Buffalo, had to go through customs, and then finally got to Hamilton, where he had to go straight to press conferences and then meetings, and he's been practicing now 5 straight days this week, so a big adjustment for Johnny Manziel, but he's actually living behind me in these dorms here at McMaster University, a long way from Toronto, a long way from Los Angeles as well. So a much different lifestyle where Johnny Manziel will have to be committed to football for at least the next couple years for the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
You know, Mike, I mentioned right now he's the backup quarterback. They say that will stand for the entirety of this season. He's one of 5 quarterbacks on this roster. How has he looked to you?
Yeah, he's been pretty accurate the 2 days that I've watched practice here. He went through a no-huddle drill yesterday, went 7 of 8 passing, and then threw a touchdown as well. And a lot of his teammates were quite impressed with that drive. I spoke to Luke Tasker, the son of former NFL player Steve Tasker, and he said it was really Manziel's arm that impressed him on that drive. And Jalen Saunders as well, a former Oklahoma receiver who played against him in college. He said Manziel might actually be better here than he was back at Texas A&M, but a few hiccups hiccups along the way. We watched practice today, and there was another drill where Manziel actually forgot to play and was running the wrong play out there. The coach was kind of laughing about it after practice, but certainly some progress here for Johnny Manziel from when he first got here on Sunday, and the arrow is certainly pointing up for him as we head towards the first preseason game of the Tiger Cats next week.
All right, Mike, thank you. Certainly no shortage of NFL players with CFL ties. Let's take a look at some of the more notable players. How about Hall of Famer Warren Moon? I can say the Edmonton Eskimos, that I can do, which is where he started his pro career before a 17-year NFL career. And then who can forget Doug Flutie? He spent 4 years in the NFL before he went to the BC Lions. He was the CFL's most outstanding player 6 times before his return to play 8 more seasons. Jeff Garcia, his CFL career started in Calgary as Flutie's backup. He was Grey Cup MVP in 1998, then hooked on with the NFL, signing with the 49ers, and then he went on to 4 Pro Bowls. And many people forget Cameron Wake. He went undrafted, got his start in the CFL, playing with the BC Lions. He joined the Dolphins in 2009, his 92 sacks, the second most by an undrafted player since that stat became official in 1982. So it does happen.
Don't forget about Bill Polian.
Were you a CFL scout?
Blue Bombers.
Or player? Or both?
For the Montreal Grey Cup winning Montreal Alouettes.
Grey Cup winning.
And personnel director for the Grey Cup winning Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
How about that?
Listen, forget that Hall of Fame stuff. There were some Grey Cup winning situations going on long before that.
I love this for Johnny Manziel. I mean, I get it. Everybody's just going to continue to rip him, but
no, I don't think. I don't think everyone's ripping him.
You don't think so? People are over it? It's not like a joke anymore. Or?
I would disagree to a point. I think everybody wants to see a young person get their life on track.
I hope so.
I think people recognize he's making an evolution and appreciate the fact that he seems to be more humble and willing to go through the steps in the process, and he realizes where he is in his life in terms of rehabilitating on the life side as well.
Oh, good.
Yes.
I guess we told you.
Now, what I find is interesting is the perspective, Dave, that they have on this. So the first couple of times it was guys just lobbing out some ideas and then showing some clips of Johnny Manziel. Then you move forward to what is, I think, more positive reinforcement about what the league is all about. So then Skip Bayless sits there and starts going through the different quarterbacks and how it works up here in Canada. Now you're starting to see video of players gone by, and you're hearing names like the Edmonton Eskimos and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on national television during an NFL show.
Mm-hmm.
That is a first. So for those of you that want to argue that it's a joke, or for those of you that want to argue that it's not a big deal, tell me when that happened before. Tell me what player it was. It wasn't even that way when the Rocket Ishmael came to Canada.
And that was a big deal, by the way.
To me, that was, I don't think it got really more eyes than taking the potential number one draft pick and taking him from the NFL to Canada.
Bingo.
But he was a special teams player. This is a quarterback that was, and a Heisman Trophy winner that had the potential of having a kind of NFL career. It would be tough to compare because we never got a chance because his head wasn't in the game. I think it is now. I think he knows it's his last chance. And to me, how do you argue about what you just saw, Dave? Bill Polian's on there talking about being the player personnel director for the Blue Bombers and for the Montreal Alouettes.
Yep, scout with the Alouettes, you're right. You don't. You know what? The credibility of this league will continue to go higher as Johnny Manziel continues to do stuff. I actually would like to see Johnny Manziel succeed with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, but have blips along the way to show that you just can't walk onto the street and dominate right away. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. You kind of heard it in the report where the player said, or the reporter said, that he misread a play or forgot a play. It's not, and I think that really works out, and we're hearing a lot about it from the American side of things. June Jones was a very noted college coach in the United States. He was many different schools.
SMU was a huge one.
Hawaii,
Hawaii.
Exactly. And he even got a taste of the NFL, but and then you throw in the Glanville references on defense and stuff. This is gravy right now, and it's considering that the NFL right now is going through fake rule changes where everybody hates everything that's happening one way or another. This is maybe the only positive football news out there in the world right now.
Yeah, you've got Tom Brady not showing up,
right?
Like he's not showing up. You've got players who, as we had Jeff Manishin on yesterday, the lawyer. you know, the CBA, like there's going to be a work stoppage, a lockout, however you put it. At some point, there will be not an NFL season, and that is just coming down. And that's not just about the kneeling. That's about a lot of things with the CBA that the players, they just, you know, they're not liking actually the deal that was set for them in the first place.
Right.
So that's going to change. Before we get to Audley Stevenson in about 5 minutes time here, someone who can comment probably more accurately on what it's like to have the kind of fanfare come up to Canada and try to make a career is Doug Flutie. Doug was in town for an event where he's going to be the head speaker, and Kevin Smith from Global News in Sports in Calgary had a chance to talk with him, and you knew that the Manziel conversation was going to come up. Here's Doug Flutie, once again, courtesy of Global News.
Doug, it's great to have you here. I think a lot of Stampeder fans would kind of want to know, where are you now? What are you doing now?
Well, I'm living on the beach in Florida, surfing every morning and being a bum most of the time. Then you start to feel irrelevant. You got to get on a plane and go do something. But I work for NBC, actually, and cover college football, Notre Dame stuff, and that's my real job.
Fantastic. So you're up here for the JCC dinner. What's it like when you come back to Calgary? I know you were here last year, you know, meeting up with your former teammates, and now you're just meeting up with people who just had such a thrill watching you play. What's it like coming back here?
It's a lot of fun to come back in town. Right away, I had to go by McMahon Stadium, say hi to Dave Dickinson and John Huffnagel, go and see some of the guys, and Bruce Covington, Stu Laird here tonight, and just a lot of fond memories in Calgary, and people seem to genuinely have an affection for what we did in those days. So it's just fun to be back in town.
You know, you mentioned Dave, and you guys were teammates, you know, with the Chargers when Drew Brees was there too.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Dave now? I mean, head coach, Calgary Stampeders, back-to-back Grey Cups. I know they didn't go his way, but are you kind of, in a way, kind of proud of what he's become?
Very proud of it. And you knew he would be a coach. He's that type of guy. He was all into the X and O end of it. He was always fully prepared, and he was a competitive son of a gun on the field. And he made the transition so smoothly into coaching. His teams have played great, done great. You know, a bounce of the ball the other way. They had the game, and 2 years in a row. It's so close, and sometimes you need a little bit of luck too to finish it off.
Do you watch CFL when you're down there?
I hadn't, but there's more and more games now that are televised down there during the summer. So it's a lot of the amazing thing is, if I'm flipping stations and I find a CFL game, I lock in and I watch the whole game. If I'm flipping station, I see an NFL game, I watch a couple series and keep going. I just have an attachment to this game, and I feel it when I come back up here. It's just it meant a little more to me.
Fantastic. You say you work in college football, so I have to ask you about Johnny Manziel. I mean, you're a Heisman winner. He's a Heisman winner. You're a superstar in this league. What could he do in this league, do you think?
He has the skill set. He's very similar to the skill set that I had, but I always said about Johnny is he's got more speed than I had. He has that change of direction, can make people miss, but when he hits a crease and goes, he can take it 70, 80 yards. I could never do that. 40, 50 yards is my limit. And he throws the ball extremely well. His instincts for the game are amazing. He's got to keep himself in line and learn the X and O end of it. He'll get away with using his athleticism at first and still win games, but to win championships, you really have to learn this game, and I think Ricky Ray proved that last year. You know, you put those two side by side athletically, I'm sure Johnny can outrun Ricky and do all these things, but he knows the game, and you have to get to that level mentally in this game.
That is Doug Flutie, once again, courtesy of Global Sports in Calgary with Kevin Smith. Pretty interesting stuff. But
yeah, very interesting.
But you notice what he said when he started talking about Canada before it came back? He said, well, you know, I watched the whole game, and I think people appreciate what we did up here, and then it trailed off. But what he said was, because it meant a little more to me up here. I
didn't catch that part.
Which is huge. You listen to that and think that is unbelievable. Yep. Okay, the NBL Canada. So if you haven't seen it, this is from, I believe, this is game number 5. So this is about 2 weeks ago. This actually goes to a 7-game series between London and Halifax. This game actually takes place in London. So they play at the Budweiser Arena. So they play where the London Knights play. And they get good crowds. This is sort of the dominant team of the league. This is the London Lightning and the Halifax Hurricanes. We come back on the other side. We will talk to Deputy Commissioner Audley Stevenson. But first, this.
Threat for Halifax. It helps the offense click so much better. Herring Jr., he drives. He's wide open. Herring Jr. with the big one-handed slam. My goodness. And the London Public Library just turned into
a London
Barney's
musical.
patio.
We went for the same joke.
Herring Jr. again slowing it down. 2.5 on the clock in the quarter. Herring Jr. underneath to Boyd. Easy foul call there.
Beautiful pass there from Herring Jr. to get Boyd to the line, essentially. Just a really nice job by Herring Jr.
I mean, we're talking about a guy taking over the game multiple ways. Seeing the floor offensively, getting up for the jam. And
as
that
there
play,
you see it, that is the dominant team, that being the London Lightning. But it went to 7 games, and what I think is interesting about it is when you start talking about Halifax and basketball, for those that may be remotely uninitiated about basketball in Canada, for all those championships they had, the CIS, it's a good basketball market, and they have a great building. And in fact, in the times of watching those teams play CIS basketball, if you didn't really know what you were watching, if you first just sort of clicked on it, you might mistake it for NCAA basketball, because it did have that kind of enthusiasm, great crowd, and I think it's fantastic that they have the league that contains a Halifax in it. So, Audley Stevenson joining us here, the deputy commissioner.
Thank you.
Can you not be the full commissioner? Did they?
We'll get there. We're working on that. Baby steps, right?
Baby steps.
There you go.
It's part of the ascension.
So, for those that aren't familiar with the league, and whether 10 teams, I think 10 teams.
We're 11 actually.
You're 11 teams
11
now.
The Sudbury
The
5.
Sudbury 5. What do you think of the name?
I like it.
There we
That's
go.
right.
The 5.ca if you want to look it up. Exactly.
Okay.
There you go.
So the homework. I like that.
This is very, because you spent, and I just mentioned London, I think, what, 6 years or so with the Lightning?
So with the league itself,
yes.
I came on board as kind of volunteer in year 1. And I just wanted to kind of be a part of the league. So not necessarily with the Lightning, would kind of help.
It was the whole league.
Yeah, the whole league in entirety, yeah.
So why do that? What is the background? What is the love for this game?
Yeah, I mean, the love of the game of basketball is where it started for me, and it's really interesting. The year the NBL Canada started was when the NBA was during a lockout, that lockout year that they had, and at the time I was very much into. I was very actually bad at basketball podcasts. I was much into media content creation in and around the sport.
Where's home for you? So what town do you grow up in?
Toronto. We're downtown Toronto.
So what's high school? What high school?
Bloor Collegiate.
Bloor Collegiate. Are they excited about you? Like, is there a bust of Audley Stevenson when you go in there?
I'm still lobbying for it. I'm trying to. There are a few teachers that probably are thrilled about it.
Stevenson? Are you kidding me? Stevenson?
He's still around? Yeah. So let's. So there are good memories nonetheless. Though.
Yes, nonetheless. And so, college, university?
George Brown College down the street here,
right around the corner.
Right, and then Ryerson after that. And
I went to Ryerson.
There we go. So I was a PR guy, and I wanted to study PR, and I did that. But basketball was always there, and media and content creation was always a part of me, and that's what drew me to the league. And again, there was a lockout; there was no basketball happening in the NBA side of things, and we were at that time we were very much heavily following the NBA, and we needed something to do and time to fill, and NBL Canada came here at that, it was a right timing kind of thing. And I walked in and say, hey, how can I be a part of this? How can I help? This is phenomenal. We've got a professional basketball league here in my home country. And that kind of started the journey for me.
The brainchild of this, who sits down and says, you know what, I think we can make professional basketball go in markets in Canada? Who says this? Who did this?
Founders Andre Livingston and Ian McCarthy, a couple of basketball guys in their own right, and they had been involved with teams in other leagues, and they immediately saw the gap. Canada at that time was the only country that didn't have its own domestic league, and every country around the world that compete at that level, they had a league that they could call their own, and that was a gap for Canada. So those two gentlemen sort of got the ball rolling, and here we are 7 years later and still having fun with it.
As far as the progress throughout the starting it from the inception to what we're looking at right now, how has it grown in your eyes has it?
It's been incredible growth, and a lot has to do with the game of basketball itself growing here in Canada.
Huge.
So as I'll give you an example, there's a mandated rule that in year number 1 that every team had to have a minimum of 2 Canadians on their roster. Fast forward now 7 years, that number has increased to 5, and the talent level and the entertainment and the competitiveness is even higher than it was. So the growth of the game is a starting point. And so when we talk about the growth of the league, and obviously the Raptors have a huge part to play in sort of selling the game, and you go down to Jurassic Park during the playoffs and you see what that's like. And so we're looking to really be a part of this growth, and we are. I think we're starting to see more and more Canadians wanting to stay home and play pro, as opposed to going overseas. Now they have a legitimate option, and that's what we want to have.
It's funny you say the Raptors part of it, and also when you're watching an NCAA game down south, there's no such thing as, oh, that team has 1 Canadian, because it's almost like 32 teams have multiple Canadians.
You got it.
It's not one of these things where
That's right.
we're zeroing in on one team.
That's right.
It's like, no, the entire tournament has it.
Absolutely.
Canadians are going in the top 5. Lottery's number 1,
Absolutely.
and that's just the growth of the game.
And I think it's a natural progression. Like as the game evolves, I oftentimes joke, Dr. Naismith has lots to be proud of because there are a lot of Canadians that are all over the map, and you've got those that want to go overseas, and that's great for them as well too. But to have those options is what I think is just phenomenal.
Because there's some great stories, and I look back in sort of the late 70s, early 80s, and so when this kid out of St. Mike's named Leo Routens, I believe that's how you pronounce the name, and so I heard that you'd start seeing the Toronto Star. You'd see these pictures. I'm like, they're showing some kid, some tall white kid with a weird last name, and he's showing up, and they're saying he's going to get a scholarship. I'm like, yeah, we'll see about that.
That's right.
And then at Syracuse, Jim Boeheim, I'm kind of losing my mind going this. Well, I mean, is he like the 11th guy on the bench? And then you see what he does there, and then he gets drafted by the Philadelphia 76ers. And from that moment on, because I always believe in a nation where that's not commonplace, that when you see one of your own, see, that's the thing that drives people. People like Nancy Green, a lot of people maybe not even remember that name, but they saw her as the Mars bar, was a chocolate bar. No, but she actually was a Canadian. She won a medal in the Olympics. And since that time, it's just tenfold where we're looking at Canadians now, and Dave just mentioned the tournament. Well, not only Canadians on the roster, but they're not there just for the jacket now.
No.
They're probably your starter, and they might be your star. They might be Andrew Wiggins. You can go down Jamal Murray from a couple of years ago.
RJ Barrett at Duke.
Yeah,
RJ's coming up.
At Duke,
yeah,
right.
Exactly.
And Carl English was a great story, I think, for a lot of it. So Carl comes from, as far away as you can think. He goes to school as far away as you can think, and he comes in, and now this league, and it's sort of embraced that mentality that you can do it too. And I think, just looking at the league and how it's progressing, it won't take long before you start seeing, because I know there's those that haven't been in the NBA or ex-NBA players. Is it going to be that strange that I'm going to see someone who initially didn't make an NBA roster, and they're going to play for Moncton or Kitchener-Waterloo, and then they end up getting a call-up?
Hey,
I don't think you're that far away.
No, we on the inside don't feel so either. I mean, this past season, a former player in our league, at the end of the regular season, the NBA regular season, he got a call-up from the D-League to play an NBA team, and Amari Johnson. So we have one player that's started with our league, and it ended up there. I think that's just one of many to come. And you touched on Carl English. I think that by far was the best story of the season for us. Yeah. I'm talking about a guy coming back home who's played internationally, all sorts of experience, 15-year pro, coming back home for the first time. And I remember being in Mile 1 Center, downtown St. John's, in the home game, and watching an excited, exuberant, enthusiastic fan base, just hearing Carl English's name announced as he came out, and at the end of the game, and many games after that, the lineup of kids, take a selfie with me, give me an autograph with the ball. It was just, and he was there for every single one of them. And to me, that the best story, a guy coming home, and to be able to be a part of that, offer a platform to allow that for me is just a thrill.
Getting some messages right now, oddly, on Twitter from Kelly McDonald, who's a season ticket holder of the London Lightning, enjoying the crowds there, and wanted to know about, is London the model that a Sudbury will look at and say that's what we want to aspire to? Is that kind of what you when you blueprint a new season, new team expansion. We see it in all different kind of sports, and you always want to look for realistic goals. Is that realistic right away for them?
It totally is, and in fact, the Sudbury group have been down to London numerous times. They've been at games, they've studied, they've looked at models. So absolutely. But I also think you can take a little bit from every market.
Sure.
When you look at sort of across the league, each market is unique, has its own uniqueness with respects to how they either they deliver their message or reach out to their communities. So I think there's a little bit to take from everyone, but without question, what we've seen out of London. I mean, they've just won their 4th franchise championship in their 7-year history, and they absolutely have been an incredible model to follow. And quite honestly, it wouldn't be a bad starting point at all.
Yeah, because he goes on to write, and he's enjoying this right now, watching live on YouTube.com.
Great.
The crowds are fantastic. The game experience is second to none. So compliments to you, your league, and everything that is good about it.
And thank you for that, and thank you to the listener and viewer, I guess. But the thing that I've said over and over again is I challenge people to come to a game and not enjoy themselves. Like, it's the experience that is. I mean, very much NBA, like the NBA feeling. You've got players that have played at top level, whether D1 level, pro overseas, that really come out and put on a fantastic show. And I was looking at some stats, and we're at the end of our season now, looking at some stats, and we've had more games this season end in like extra frames and overtime than any other year in the 7-year history. And that just speaks to the competitiveness overall.
Sure.
And that's the exciting part about it.
I also think too, being from a family of coaches, that's a huge element of obviously what you've got. I mean, players will go somewhere because they know the reputation of a coach. So what kind of coaches are you getting in the league? Where are they coming from?
All over. I mean, when I'll use Sudbury 5 as an example. When they sort of announced, I've lost track of the number of coaches that reached out to them to say, "Hey, I want to be a part of this," or I want to be a part of the league or with this team. What I've been really excited about is that Canadian coaches are also getting an opportunity.
This is a great place for them, I think.
Keith Vassell is a Canadian coach. He was formerly on the national team with Niagara College. He won with London with the championship. Those are the types of opportunities that this league creates, and it just shows that it's not just for players anymore, right? It's players, it's coaches, it's guys that want to be league executives, it's broadcasters, right across the board. And that when we really start to look at it from that vein, it really opens it up, and it really speaks to an incredible opportunity to work or be involved with a pro basketball league.
Well, I also think too, and I talk about all the time about your national program, your sort of national profile, and a lot of times Dave and I will talk about. You look at the World Cup, and people say, well, there's certain teams, there's certain nations that we're going to see Germany, we're going to see Brazil, but what has happened over the years in those huge leagues in Italy and in England? If you don't have a solid grassroots program, then what you're going to find is eventually your league is filled full of internationals or imports. When you see that, there's a reason why England won't win the World Cup. They just don't have enough nationals. Those that have good grassroots sports, Spain, Portugal, Germans. If you watch the Bundesliga, their biggest stars, Dave, they're German. Right. Like, it starts somewhere, so it goes hand in hand with people say, well, how could you start off a professional league, whether it be basketball in this case or the soccer, which is eventually coming too, in similar sized towns. It's what Audley just said. It's how you grow a game. It doesn't happen overnight. No. But as Audley said, you have 2 Canadians to start with. Now you're up to 5, and those 5 weren't the water boy and the guy keeping stats.
That's right.
They're coming from big schools, big programs, big conferences south of the border, and you watch. It will eventually filter its way where guys like Audley who come out of, there's a lot of guys watching now going, well, I'm at Ryerson, I'm at a school, I'm taking communications. Mm-hmm. You're saying there's going to be a place for me to actually get paid with my skill set in Canada? Yeah. That's what you're talking about.
That's exactly what you've encompassed it all right there, and it is, and that's the thrilling and exciting part about being a part of this. And going back to that point about the Canadians per roster, every coach in our league will tell you that if they do not have talented, solid Canadians that can contribute, they will not have success in terms of wins and losses.
Right. CFL will tell you the same thing, Dave.
Yeah, no. So Sudbury joins the league in the fall.
Yep.
Is there any talk? I don't want to get too far ahead, but is there any talk of a Toronto GTA team, not City Toronto, but maybe a Markham, maybe a Mississauga, Vaughan, something like that?
We actually formerly had a team in Mississauga, and actually formerly had a team in Brampton as well in that GTA, and they didn't work out in terms of viability. And you can sort of point to a number of different reasons why that is.
It's like junior hockey. Junior hockey has that same struggle. If you're not in a London or an Oshawa or whatever, where that becomes like the main thing.
Sure.
Now you're spread out in terms of it's a tough sell.
Well, on a Saturday night, if you're in Moncton, New Brunswick on a Saturday night, I can tell you where people want to be. Right, you come to downtown Toronto, you've got options. Right,
absolutely.
We're not just competing for sports. We're talking about entertainment dollars and all that comes with it.
I thought you were going to say Magnetic Hill. Which probably
that could be place number 2.
Would suck at night. It would suck at night. I'm going backwards. I can't see anything.
I can't see. I did have to go check out Magnetic Hill the first time I was there too. Is this real? Like, it really pulled me up?
At first I went on and I'm like, it does. You're free. Well, I'm going backwards. And the locals are going, look at this one over here. I want to show you something pretty cool. This goes back to 2014. This is the All-Star game. The NBL Canada All-Star Game, and there's a slam dunk competition. So if you're curious about the level of athleticism, I'm going to show you a clip of this dunk. This is 2014. Yep. This is the All-Star Game. Check out this.
Stephen Benoit. That was
tell us who that was. And
Steph Benoit, he went on to win a championship in our league. Actually, that season they won a championship with the Windsor Express. Super athletic.
That's crazy.
A little guy gets up there. He's super. He had a great season, and he himself had a great story. He was with the Express for a little bit. Wasn't seeing a whole lot of time. Moved to another team in our league. Wasn't happy there. Totally, just in terms of the situation. Went back to the Windsor Express and had an incredible season. Stats wise, that dunk was just a culmination of his season. We saw numerous of those in game, right?
Yeah.
So thanks to the flashback, man. It was Flashback Friday. That was a good one. Taking me back.
What's the off season look like for you now? You talked about you're breaking down some stats and that, but in the meantime, there's June, July, August.
Yeah.
What's going on in your office and for you personally?
Yeah, first off, rest after the season that we had.
Yeah.
I made it a point of sort of being at all our markets this season, and so I was all over the Maritimes and of course here in Ontario. We've actually got a board of governors meeting, and in a few weeks we'll sort of iron out and give ourselves some direction and where we want to go for the upcoming season, make some decisions, stuff like that.
Sure.
And then it's just preparation. Look at sort of revamping, internal processes, looking at our rules, our operations manual. Not all the flashy stuff we did during the year,
right,
but necessary and important things in terms of stability and viability. When I came in as the first, this is my first year as deputy commissioner. I sat beside every commissioner our league had, so I had an intimate and up close views to sort of how things worked. And when I stepped into the role, it really helped me just to hit the ground running. And now that I'm going into the off season, I'm taking a lot of that to where we can improve and get stronger and get better.
I think Sudbury's going to do well. That's from years of going up there in high school, playing in tournaments that were sponsored by Laurentian University. Yeah. The culture up there is really kind of surrounded. That's why the Wolves always draw very well, Dave. I think almost anywhere you would have success in junior. When I take a look at your league and how you've done this, the places where they do well are the places where junior hockey does well. Right. And so I look at Sudbury, who will draw from North Bay, the Timmins area,
the 5 boroughs.
Yeah,
make up the 5.
Yeah,
right?
you're gonna see, and people say, well, what kind of draw? I think you're gonna do very well. I think you do very well.
An interesting point with the Sudbury Wolves, they're owned by the sports SW Sports Entertainment Group. That's the ownership group of the team as well.
See, that's so smart.
So the model now, right?
Yeah.
So now you've got the infrastructure already in place. You've got sales and ticket staff. You've got the building already set up. When it's time to figure out scheduling scheduling, it's a lot easier to process. So, that very well could be a model that we may see replicated in other markets. And that's one of the reasons we're really excited about Sudbury.
We'll just go up there and I'll just start doing Marv Albert play-by-play, see if anyone catches on. And it's Smith for 3, and he's fouled.
Yes!
And we'll go to the line. My favorite Marv Albert line of all time was with the first USA Dream Team. And they're playing Angola. They're playing. Now, the funny thing is,
a tough game.
Close game.
Angola starts out, they get a dunk from one of their 9-foot-tall guys. So it's actually, the first is 2-0 Angola. And then it just goes on and on and on. And then Marv Albert says the classic line, this kills me, I'll remember this forever. He goes, "Is it just me, or does it seem like Angola hasn't scored since yesterday?"
That sounds about right.
Awesome. Ollie, thanks so much for coming in, man.
Listen,
a
guys,
real pleasure.
Listen, I appreciate the opportunity just to talk about our league. Thank you for providing the platform. Like I said, we're really excited about what's to come in the future. And
well, you come in anytime.
Please do. I thought we were about NBA. No NBA talk.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Oh, what's going on?
Oh, you want to?
Oh my God!
With the Rockets.
Okay, all right. So here's the one thing that here's the one thing that I don't like.
What's that?
So in the NBA, so if I'm listing my favorite sports in terms of even the sport itself, so NCAA basketball is number one for me. That I love it. I love the engagement. I love the fact that you never really quite know. And now that you have the one and dones, you
Any
can't.
particular school or?
Well, I spent a year in Oregon, so I'm a bit of a duck guy, right?
Okay.
So, the Pac-12 last year was just terrible. It was just awful. But the reason sometimes it's tough to watch the NBA, so now we get to the finals, and I really think that the actual real final is Houston and Golden State. But then the other one's just like, look, we won the last game, and it looks like we're losing now.
How about this?
If LeBron comes down, have you seen the size of him? He's quite large. So I'm just going to move out of the way, and they'll probably win by 40. But we're going home, and we've already split anyways. So you go and you win one game, the next game, you lose by 40.
Right.
Because it's a league of runs, and sometimes it's a little frustrating to watch.
That's right.
But the last couple of games, Golden State, Houston, to me, I mean, that really is the two best teams in the league. That's what you're watching. But for you, watching it just as a fan, is there a team that you like?
I don't have a team.
Yeah.
I just
do you have a guy? Do you are a LeBron guy?
I mean, I love LeBron for all that he
I do too.
does.
I do too.
I really do appreciate it, and I mean, when it's all said and done, when like to have these arguments over who's the greatest, he's better than MJ, is so premature. Like, let's just wait until the dust settles, and we can have those conversations. I'm open to that. But I mean, I'm enjoying the moment, and every time he steps on the court, he sets a new record.
Yeah,
like he's that.
It's remarkable.
It's one of these things that you'll be telling your great grandkids about this guy named LeBron James. And we're like, oh yeah, right. It's gonna be something like that. But this guy is that special of a player. I'm enjoying the Houston Golden State series. Houston impresses me an awful lot. They had the best record all season long, so they're playing like it.
Are they going to close the series though?
CP3, that's the key. And
that's
I mean,
huge.
and the key is Harden has a history of not necessarily showing up at those big moments. And CP3 has been a guy that's spelled him and given him a lot of rest and taken the pressure off. We'll see. I mean,
but you bring up a big point, because there are a lot of people who are not Harden guys. I mean, sometimes the flopping, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
He should be playing for Real Madrid, not Houston. That was the worst I've ever. And see, but a lot of people going, all right. So CP3 gone.
Yeah, what's up?
Let's see it now. Let's see, because if you can do it now, then you're MVP. You're everything else. Exactly. You're taking out Golden State with I think they'll be really interesting to see. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, no, I'm really intrigued. And then the other series with Boston, LeBron, I think it's just about. I mean, it's fun to watch, but Boston clearly is the better team.
They are the better team, and I'm also thinking that there is a fatigue in Cleveland, and I also think there's also a fatigue that everywhere you go, Dave, it's LeBron and friends. And for all those years where he incredibly, literally
TV show too.
can do it. But at some point, I think there's a weight to that year after year, and they're all, as a franchise, they're looking tired of it. I think they are.
They are. You feel it. Like, you just feel it. And especially when they go down big, you're just like, oh, boy.
Yeah.
And then you feel for LeBron, because he's got to do a whole lot of work to even get them close to being a respectable game, right?
That thing they did on Saturday Night Live, I don't know if you saw that sketch.
Yes.
Where
and the other Cavaliers.
And the other
LeBron and the other Cavaliers. And it's all the SNL characters go, hey, LeBron, you want me to shine those shoes? Don't pass the ball to me.
My name is Paul, and I don't even know how to play basketball. It's like, oh, nice, but
no, it's pretty good. Getting another message on Twitter this morning, and thank you for all your comments. What's the toughest task in your first year as deputy commissioner in the league?
The toughest task for me now, again, I sort of talked about sort of my role, and I was sort of a catch-all doing sort of whether it was communications functions or game operations or what I was doing, a little bit of everything, and it took me a while to transition out of that stuff to the new role. I almost had to spend a lot of time sort of replacing myself, and
right.
and that was and then when so we've got people in place, you know that whole old habits die hard. You want to kind of slide back. Oh, I'll take care of that, and so that was a bit eye opening.
Were you bugging people? It's like you just hired Dave to do the one thing you did, and you're like, you're not doing it as good as me.
Something like that. But it was. I will, honestly, that was an adjustment for me because if you talk about this is what I was just doing for 6 years. And now all of a sudden I'm not doing it no more, and I could do this, or I can change that, or I could do so. Yeah, so that was tough.
So you got to catch yourself and kind of bring it back.
It probably took me about half a season to say just slow down.
Sure.
Let the people that you've put in place take care of that stuff.
Now we're going to say thank you so much for coming in.
And I will say
do you want to get,
you're very welcome.
Or do you want to talk about Johnny Manziel? Because that was a big story too.
Hey, well, you know what? The Doug Flutie thing was great hearing from him.
Yes.
By the way. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
And
really cool.
And just hearing the energy and love for the league. And when I make the relation NBL Canada, we look at the CFL and say, why can't we be what CFL?
Sure. Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
There's no reason.
Yeah.
So
no, it's a
great
great point.
to hear from.
Thank you so much for coming in. And come in anytime.
Thank you.
Come in anytime.
Thanks for the invite.
Actually, as Oddly goes out, I found you enjoyed the slam dunk competition. Okay, so here's in the same year, 2014. I've never seen this before.
Maybe a little different, eh?
The Moscow slam dunk competition, and I'm like, well, what would this like? But the reality is, as much as I would make a lot of jokes about it, basketball, not unlike soccer, aka football, is so global a sport that they come from everywhere. Lithuania. Where do you think these guys? And it's just endless talent in and around the world. But here, strangely, is a slam dunk competition in Moscow, 2014. See what you think. Just a part of a slam dunk competition in Moscow, and as Oddly was walking out, he's watching this thing going, what, are you serious? I know. The thing about basketball these days, not only, you're seeing it more and more at the collegiate level, but Dave, when you watch pro teams now, and a lot of it in Toronto, when you see like the chairs all come out now, not like the old days where you used to go to the sidelines. Chairs all come out. The 54 assistant coaches come out. But some of those assistant coaches, you better know like specific languages. You could be from the African nations. You could be an Eastern Bloc European. You could be from Slovenia. You could be Italian, Spanish. Like, they come from everywhere around the world. So maybe, just maybe, we shouldn't be surprised that you see a slam dunk competition in Moscow that looks like that.
Yeah, no, that was impressive. And, you know, traditionally, the Russian national program, basketball-wise, and I'm not saying we're looking at national team members or anything like that, it has gained in the last number of years. They actually put a pretty decent product on the court when it comes to Olympic Games and so forth. And a lot of the former Soviet Union are also starting to form more and more.
And I think that's what hurt Russia.
Yes,
because they used to own them all. Yeah. Maybe that's not the word you want to use, but I'm sorry.
But they're building back up is what I'm trying to say. Just like the former Yugoslavia was a superpower. Now you're seeing the Serbian team, very good. The Croatian team,
Croatia's
very
basketball,
good.
huge.
You know what I mean? So,
Huge.
and this is, you got to remember that, you know, Yugoslavia as a country existed until 1990. So it's relatively new for all these other smaller countries, Bosnia and so forth, Slovenia, you mentioned, that they're starting to build their programs as well after about 25 years.
A couple things to get to before we head to the weekend. I know there's always a lot of talk where people talk. I mean, it's about fairness and equality in pay. And for years, I think the women have always talked about in tennis about wanting the same money as men. And for the most part, you know, I don't mind the differences, the fact that we actually have differences in the sexes. It's kind of what makes being a heterosexual sort of the fun part. And I don't necessarily put it down as a slam when I'm saying, you know, there's a lot of women's sports that I don't watch. I don't know the WNBA. I don't know NCAA women's. I don't. Not because I think it's garbage or terrible. It doesn't hold my interest. So of all the sports that I have, I'm not familiar with it. So I find it weird in a sport sometimes where you actually do have men and women playing against each other at the same time. In high school, I did one tournament in mixed doubles. Now, playing tennis, believe it or not, which I kind of liked in high school, I just thought one year it might be interesting to play doubles. And obviously, once again, as a guy in high school, it was going to be interesting to see what was on the other side of the net. Sorry. That's how track and field work, too. Don't lie. But I used to get mad when some of the guys would just immediately go after my partner. Actually, her name was going after Jill. He used to drive me nuts. She was a great player, but do they do that at the most elite levels of tennis when they play mixed doubles? Well, apparently they do. And are they big players? Oh, yeah. It's Roger Federer. And if you want to see what it's like when men play women, I got to be honest, the men are not very nice.
On the court, could be nearer 20.
40 love.
Si agita per il rumore appena sentito. Va a servire ancora una volta uscita.
Just pounding the ball. Pounding it.
15. 40.
And that's good, because it's got the tape. It counts.
Look at
every right.
Blam.
That's the way to finish it off.
Roger Federer, you cheat. Now so Jeannie Bouchard is in a lot of this coming up here.
Bet.
Well, this we know for
And
sure.
I don't think she had a good time.
40, 50.
It's just a cannon.
Yeah, that's the one I'm waiting for.
Larga. Chiama il challenge subito Seppi.
Is the ball out? Let's clap our hands and watch a video game.
Ha visto bene.
Ragione.
E poi race, giusto a evitare. 30 pari. Ci mette una pezza.
They just pound the ball. Okay, is this good sport?
Prima per Seppi.
Is this an interesting sport? And this is my problem with it. So we just watched what is equivalent to skeet shooting, and the girls are the little ceramic things in the air, just pounding the ball away. Did you enjoy it? Like,
No.
I just don't. I don't even see the purpose of it. If that's what it is, and strength-wise, there's a difference between men and women. And even Serena gives reasons why she wouldn't win in the men's competition. John McEnroe talked about it, and they thought he was like some sort of pig. It's like, what do you mean? Well, he goes, what do you think I mean? That's what would happen, and I don't particularly enjoy that as sport.
No.
So let's
Not at all.
let's end our Friday show on something we will enjoy. I didn't realize that Russell loved a political show.
News to me.
He goes, well, there's a lot of politics going on right now, Mike, and I watch a political show every night. Except sometimes my mom gets mad at me when I watch it. I go, are you locking your door when you watch it? Russell said, yes, I am. Here is Russell's favorite political show.
Hai să mergem spre canapea.
Hei, ziua bună, ziua bună! Hei, stați așa!
Hai să nu mă opresc totuși din drumul spre canapea.
Să stăm jos, să stăm jos. Hai! Dacă tot am venit, bună dimineața!
Ai ajuns un pic mai târziu, mă gândeam că nu mai intri.
A venit soțul aseară, ce
Nu ești Mărie, nu?
Nu sunt Mărie.
Nu ești și Maria, nu?
Apropo, la mulți ani.
Oh my God.
Domnița ta.
Pentru Maria.
Maria.
De ce nu strigi Maria?
What a great political show.
Dar cum o strigi?
Chucky. Este Sfântul Chucky azi.
Come on, show her.
La mulți ani, Chucky!
La mulți ani,
Fii sănătoasă!
Asta dacă s-a trezit vreunul din...
What goes on in Romania?
Măcar muncitorii adeți lucrează.
Romania? It's always Romania.
Okay.
Every show that Russell brings in is from Romania.
Is Graham Romanian descent that we don't know?
You know what? I never thought of it that way. Nice.
Just become best friends. Yep.
I thought their point about democracy was
Go do karate in the garage.
lost in the conversation.
It's time.
Would like to thank Audley Stevenson for coming in today. The NBL Canada, with the new team coming into the league being Sudbury, that should be interesting. I would go up. I would watch a game up there.
Oh, very cool.
I like it up north. Also, as we take a look at a final between the Golden Knights and the Capitals.
Yep. Woof. Monday, game 1. Speaking of Monday.
So what happens in that series?
Yeah, Washington wins it. By the way, Monday, Dennis Maruk, former Washington Capital, in studio with us the entire hour. That's Monday morning, 10 o'clock Eastern.
Have yourself a great weekend. It's going to be a beauty.